Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, one and all. We're with you for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube at 580 Sports Talk. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning in to the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in the 4 o'clock hour as per usual. We are with you until 6 o'clock. Prior to Royals baseball tonight from Kauffman Stadium, second of a 3-game series between the Royals and the Twins. Royals took the opener last night 8-2. 6:40, the scheduled first pitch again tonight, meaning pregame coverage right at the top of the 6 o'clock hour right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So in these 3 hours that we have together, lots to get to, lots from Chiefs camp today, which was outdoors until it was forced indoors, and then it went back outdoors for a stretch. We'll hear from Andy Reid, head coach of the Chiefs, spoke today. Also, Josh Simmons speaking today after practice in St. Joe. Some reaction to the big news of today for the Chiefs, which was Rashee Rice back to participation during 11-on-11, during team workouts. Why that's such a big deal, and why it's even more of a big deal today, because if any of you were holding out hope on that Stephon Diggs pipe dream is over. The dream is dead. Stephon Diggs is a Commander, signing a 1-year, $12 million deal with Washington. It's $12 million with incentives, but it's a 1-year deal for Diggs with Washington, and so he will not, in point of fact, be joining the Kansas City Chiefs. But could the Chiefs still make some kind of addition to a wide receiver room if indeed they are concerned, and they wouldn't be wrong to be concerned about the durability of the group, to say nothing of the productivity of the group? We'll explore one free agent option that's still out there that might be intriguing, and maybe a trade possibility. Seth Walder of ESPN.com floated one wide receiver from an AFC contender as maybe being somebody that a team could go get via trade. We'll discuss whether or not that would make some sense for the Chiefs. And as we mentioned, we'll hear from Andy Reid. We'll hear from Josh Simmons. And, of course, at 5:25 today, it's day 3 of our Chiefs training camp reports with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. Mitch will join us at 5:25 this afternoon. Again, all of Mitch's visits with us, courtesy of Azure Credit Union and Hy-Vee. Today, we focus in on Chris Jones. If you haven't picked up on it the years that we've done the training camp reports with Mitch, there's always a theme. And typically, the first week, it's reacquainting ourselves with the Hall of Famers, or the likely Hall of Famers. If you're not all the way there yet on Chris Jones, I understand. I think best defensive player on a modern dynasty and all the All-Pros, probably good enough to get him in the Hall of Fame. You might have to wait. I mean, he's not like a first ballot guy, maybe like like Mahomes obviously is, like I think Travis Kelce probably ends up being. But I think the honorific future Hall of Famer belongs in front of Chris Jones. And we'll hear about Chris Jones. We'll hear some exclusive audio from Chris Jones when Mitch Holtis joins us at 5:25 in the 5 o'clock hour today, at 5:25 here on 580 Sports Talk. Chiefs aren't the only football team in camp. K-State opened up their fall camp today, which means both of the Sunflower State's entries in the Big 12 are into their fall camps. And the expectations are different in Lawrence and in Manhattan. And that is in part because of the expectations at the quarterback position. But let's explore those expectations at the quarterback position today. What does Kansas need from Cole Ballard to get to where they want to go? And what does K-State need from Avery Johnson? What can K-State reasonably expect? Or are we maybe past the point of expecting a great leap forward? Are we at the point with Avery Johnson as he enters his senior season that if there was a great leap, we would have seen it or something like it by now? That might be the question above any other that defines Kansas State's 2026 season. So we'll talk a little bit about the signal callers in both Lawrence and Manhattan, and we'll expand on those K-State thoughts with our guest in the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour today. Once again, it's Ryan Gilbert, managing editor at GoPowerCat.com, who will join us for this week's Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Ryan Gilbert at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll get into some baseball today as well. Funny thing, the Royals get their MVP candidate at shortstop back in the lineup, and all of a sudden look like a real Major League Baseball team again. I know it's only one night. I know I said the Twins aren't very good, and they aren't, but I said this when Bobby Witt Jr. went on the shelf in the first place. You take a team shortstop out of the lineup, it is amazing how much that affects the entire team. And you don't maybe really feel it. Even when the guy is manifestly outstanding as Bobby Witt, you don't really feel it until they're gone for a little while, and then they come back. It was night and day for the Kansas City Royals. And yeah, off day, chance to recharge the batteries at home. There were some other factors too, but the end result was a fun night of baseball at Kauffman Stadium. Randy Dobnak continues to keep runs off the board. I would love to say that I believe in the Randy Dobnak renaissance, the Dobnakaissance. That's terrible. We're not going to call it that anymore. I would love to say I'm a believer. I'm really not. But it's fun. It's fun right now. Let's have fun with it. This season has not been fun. We can have fun with the Randy Dobnak renaissance as it's happening without worrying about whether or not it's something that's going to last forever. He earned the win last night. Royals were winners last night. Again, they play tonight. We'll have it for you here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, 6 o'clock pregame, 6:40 first pitch. We'll have our typical Wednesday shenanigans on the program as well. We'll do What Is Wrong With You. We got One Gotta Go, 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. And another reminder to be listening for your cue to call today. I've got another 4-pack of tickets to the Big 94.5 Country Topeka PRCA Rodeo, presented by Sunbelt Rentals. It's coming August 21st and 22nd, and I've got 4 tickets with your name on it if you're the right caller at the right time. So be listening for your cue to call. We're going to give away those rodeo tickets against the Big 94.5 Country Topeka PRCA Rodeo, presented by Sunbelt Rentals, August 21st and 22nd. I've got a 4-pack today and a 4-pack Thursday and a 4-pack Friday to give away. And then I'm clean out. But if you don't win them from me, you can go buy them at 580WIBW.com. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of the program today. Want to hear from you? Text line is 272-9429. You can also interact on the live chat on our YouTube channel. YouTube channel 580 Sports Talk. Want to welcome everybody who's checking us out in there today. Christopher, Andrew, Mark H. in the live chat. Vance as well. Good to see some early participation and looking forward to hearing from more of you in the live chat today. Go check out the show. We're live from 3 to 6 on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. And join your fellow listeners. Talk sports. Talk whatever. There are no rules in there. Just don't swear at each other and don't swear at me. Don't be mean. That's the rule. No jerks. That's the only rule in the YouTube live chat. So go hang out in the live chat. If you're not a jerk, go hang out in the live chat, and you'll have a good time. And you'll enjoy the show with your fellow listeners. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Chiefs today, back at it. They were outdoors, then there was lightning, so they moved indoors, and that puts a cramp in everybody's live posting, live tweeting, live threading, live Xing about what's going on, play-to-play, day-to-day at camp. But ultimately, the weather did clear out, and the Chiefs were able to get back outdoors for the remainder of practice. It was the same list of non-participants today as it had been, plus one. Drew Tranquil did not go today. He was working out off to the side. Andy Reid addresses that. Still no Cyrus Allen, still no Xavier Worthy, still no Christian Fulton, still no Omar Norman Lott, those guys, still no Ashton Gelati. That group still on the sidelines. Way too early in camp to be trying to push it to any degree with anybody who's even got a minor injury, especially if they are an anticipated contributor. One anticipated contributor who was back on the field during team today was Rashee Rice. And he was out there for 11 on 11s for the first time as the team works him back after the offseason knee surgery that he underwent to clean up the previously surgically repaired knee that he injured early in the 2024 season. Of course, that was not the only thing that happened during Rashee Rice's rather eventful offseason. And it makes him kind of a weird guy to talk about because, like, we can acknowledge we're talking about a real knucklehead here, right? Somebody who has not exhibited the best judgment off the field and has some charges, some jail time, some NFL discipline to show for repeated bouts of knuckleheadedness. This is about as gentle as I can be applying that term to Rashee Rice. I could say a lot harsher things. I'll stick with knucklehead. But that's what he is. The Chiefs know that now. And he does not feel like the kind of player that you can rely on to the extent of giving a long-term contract extension to. And that'll, of course, be Rashee Rice's goal following this 2026 season as he hits free agency to earn a long-term commitment from one of the 32 NFL teams. He's got a long way to go, obviously, just as a person, to prove that he is worth that kind of, never mind the money, just worth that kind of commitment, worthy of that kind of trust. That's on him. There's nothing that Andy Reid can do. There's nothing that Eric Bieniemy or anybody on that offensive staff can do. There's nothing that any of his teammates can do. Whether or not Rashee Rice has a long-haul NFL future after this season is entirely up to him. It is entirely up to him and the decisions that he makes and the kind of person he decides he wants to be moving forward. And for his sake, for nobody's sake other than his, I hope he makes a good decision. But we got a long track record of him not doing that. So I know which side of the coin I'm betting on. But that's a problem for 2027. For 2026, the Chiefs need Rashee Rice because there is only one wide receiver on their roster that has proven over any extended time frame that they are capable of producing like a starting level NFL wide receiver. Never mind the distinction for a second between, is he a wide receiver number one or is he a wide receiver number two? It's sort of like talking about, are you an ace or not in baseball, right? Like 30 teams have a number one starter. Guy that goes opening day, the guy that you would want pitching game one of a playoff series. Every baseball team has a number one starter. Some are better than others. Those are the aces. We don't have a term like that to separate out the wide receiver ones in football. I guess you could say go-to receiver. I don't know. We don't have like a catchy term that sets apart the number one wide receivers from like the dudes. And you know them when you see them. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ross St. Brown. Like, you know who these guys are when you come across them. And Rashee Rice is not one of those guys. His ceiling is not one of those guys. He's just not that kind of multi-dimensional threat. Somebody put out a montage on X the other day. I forget who it was, but I did see it float across the old timeline on 580 Sports Talk on X. Go follow us there. If you're still on Elon's website, that's where you can find us, 580 Sports Talk. And it was a montage of every reception of a pass thrown 25 yards or more in Rashee Rice's career. A pass thrown in the air 25 yards or more. A long ball, a go ball, if you will, shot down the field. Every reception in Rashee Rice's career on such a pass. The clip was 15 seconds long. It was one catch. It was one deep ball down the sideline against the Bengals. So, like, that's not really Rashee Rice's thing. He is a receiver who works the middle of the field, gets open in the intermediate areas, makes things happen after the catch. At his best, what we saw him do late in 2023 and in the first 3 games of 2024, he can be very, very effective at those things and produce the kind of numbers that you want to see from a top-of-the-depth chart wide receiver. And I say all that because he's the only one who has remotely shown that that's what he can be. And the Chiefs need that. The Chiefs need that because they can't exactly go get somebody who can do those things. Guys aren't easy to find as is, particularly if you don't use upper echelon draft capital to go find that player. Chiefs had 3 picks in the top 40 in a top 10 pick in a class with some top 10 talent at wide receiver. Chiefs went in a different direction. So they missed that opportunity to add that player. Stephon Diggs is a no. Officially, he's a no. He's not just a theoretical no. He's an actual hard no because he has signed on the dotted line with the Washington Commanders. I know you're waiting with bated breath for Commanders insider Spencer Dupuis' take on that. We'll get it in headlines in the 5 o'clock hour. But Stephon Diggs is a no. So what else is there? What are your other options? Because it's not just that the Chiefs have a paucity of proven high-level contributors. It's a lack of guys who've proven that they can contribute for a consistent, extended period of time, really at any level. They just don't have a lot of those guys. I go back to what we talked about with our NFL insider, Matt Verderam, on Monday. The fact that we freaked out about Cyrus Allen to the degree that we did was not a good sign for this receiving core. If you're feeling like, oh no, our season might be hanging in the balance based on whether or not our 5th round rookie might have torn up his knee in special teams today. It's not where you want to be. So there are 2 routes that the Chiefs could reasonably go, right? They could still go either of these routes. They could add a veteran on a free agent contract. That's Stephon Diggs. Keenan Allen is still out there. I don't like that idea. I know that that's a name that Matt has thrown around, Matt Verderam. I have to distinguish our Matts when I'm talking about our football Matts, right? Because our NFL insider is a Matt and our Chiefs insider is a Matt. So I have to keep our Matts straight. Just talking about Matt Verderam in this case. He had brought up Keenan Allen as a guy that Chiefs could kick the tires on. His name has come up a couple of times. I don't see it. I don't see the fit. He's bigger. He's a bigger body. He's reliable. He's trustworthy. There are some good traits for Keenan Allen. I certainly would not be angry. I wouldn't be frustrated if the Chiefs decided to sign him. I just don't know that he diversifies the skill set in the receiver room enough, particularly at his age. But one idea did occur to me when I was reading Seth Walder at ESPN.com today. He had a piece, 5 trades that he believes should happen prior to week 1. And one of them, well, it's already outdated, but the suggestion was for the Commanders to trade for New England Patriots wide receiver Kayshon Boutte. And the logic behind Walder suggesting this is that Boutte has been shoved down the depth chart in New England with the signing of Romeo Doubs from Green Bay, the acquisition of Doubs, and obviously the acquisition of A.J. Brown. So right now, Kayshon Boutte looks like the number 3 wide receiver in New England. And maybe that would be something that they would be willing to part with, given that Mac Hollins is also in the room. Kyle Williams is also on the team. They've got some other veteran options and might be tempted to trade a guy who did kind of break out last year with 33 catches, 551 yards, 6 touchdowns, but also just may not be a fit, may be a redundancy given the additions that the Patriots made to their receiver room. Now, what complicates this is that apparently Boutte has been the star of Patriots camp so far. So he might be working his way into his team's plans to the extent that that this is all baseless anyhow. But the suggestion that Walder made was a 5th-round pick for Kayshon Boutte. And if that deal's out there, why wouldn't you explore that if you were the Chiefs? Because you want to talk about a skill set that isn't redundant for the Chiefs, something that they could use. Boutte had the most vertical route profile in the NFL last year, as Walder writes. 31% of his routes last season were either go routes or deep fades. Who do the Chiefs have right now to do that? Tyquan Thornton? Can you trust him to stay on the field? Xavier Worthy is very fast. Speed does not a vertical threat, as it happens, really make. We haven't seen him and Mahomes be on the same page on those deep balls. It hasn't clicked. He feels like much more of an underneath/gadgety wide receiver, which is another one of my concerns about Xavier Worthy as a long-term piece. But as a go-get-it guy, 33 catches for 551 yards, you don't need to be a math major to know that's an outstanding yards per catch average. 6 touchdowns last year as well, so the ability to get to the end zone. That's a guy I'd make a phone call on. There's another receiver in this piece. He mentions that Keon Coleman could benefit from a fresh start. Obviously, things haven't gone real well for him in Buffalo. I have a really hard time believing Buffalo would move Keon Coleman to the Chiefs. As far as the Bills are concerned, the Chiefs are still the team they need to beat. I don't think they do that. I think that's a non-starter. I don't think it's quite as personal for the Patriots. Maybe it is. But they just won the conference. They're probably thinking a little bit differently about where they are in relation to the Chiefs. So maybe it's a trade. Maybe it's something like that makes a little bit more sense for the Chiefs to add rather than go the veteran route or because let's be honest. Now that Diggs has a home and one of Tyreek Hill's legs is like the width of a pencil right now because he's got no strength or power back in it, understandably, after the cataclysmic leg injury he suffered that he's working his way back from. The rest of the guys that are just out there, not going to add anything really punchy to your receiver room. You can argue that veteran depth would be valuable, but if you want somebody who's going to make a difference, you got to work the phones and see if there might be somebody out there who's, been moved too far down the depth chart, somebody who might be on the fringes of the roster, but somebody who can complement 2 guys in Rice and Worthy that are better served working the underneath, working the intermediate, being yards after catch guys. if that player's out there, Brett Veach should strike while the iron's hot and add to that group, because we're still not quite to the point where if guys aren't practicing, or if they sit out a day or a couple of days of practice, or they're still got the non-contact jersey on like Mansour Delane, we're still not to a point where it's panic time on those guys, but we will be there before you know it. And if you arrive at that point and Cyrus Allen still isn't back out there and Xavier Worthy still isn't back out there, you got to think about doing something. I want to hear your thoughts. 785-272-9429. Can also interact in the live chat on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. We'll hear from Andy Reid and Josh Simmons, Chiefs' second-year left tackle, both of whom spoke to the media earlier today in St. Joe. We'll play that audio for you. Ryan Gilbert coming up, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Mitch Holthus with a training camp report at 5:25. Got a great show for you today. Thanks for being here on 580 Sports Talk. .333 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting underway on this Wednesday. So good to be with you. Training camp report number 3 with Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, coming up 5:25 this afternoon. We'll focus on Chris Jones, Stone Cold, the CEO of Sack Nation. Got some exclusive audio from Chris Jones you'll hear in that segment. Bottom of the 4 o'clock hour today, our Wildcat wrap-up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, with Ryan Gilbert of GoPowerCat.com. Some thoughts. We'll start from the text line. Appreciate those of you weighing in today, either on the YouTube live chat or on the text line. Again, the text line is 785-272-9429. One text from the 913, we're talking about Keenan Allen being a free agent possibility, still out there on the wire. And text from the 913 says he's older than Lamar Hunt. Not quite. But, yeah, that would be certainly the oldest player they could possibly bring in at the position. And that's not me exaggerating. He's a month older, I think, than DeAndre Hopkins, who... He's still listed as a free agent. Spotrac still listed as a free agent, but he's agreed to be an assistant coach at Georgia Tech this year. Does that sound like a guy who thinks he's going to play football? I think it might be curtains for DeAndre Hopkins. Great career. Borderline Hall of Fame career. I only say borderline because the wide receiver standard is very strange, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But at his best, he was Hall of Fame caliber for sure. But, like, here's who's out there. This is Spotrac's list of free agent wide receivers, just to give you an idea. Obviously, everybody knows Tyreek Hill. It's not happening. He's not going to play, guys. He's not going to play. He's not close. Physically, he's not close. Curtis Samuel spent the last 2 years in Buffalo doing nothing. Noah Brown has never been good. Kadarius Hodge has never been good. Josh Reynolds has never been good. Zay Jones has never been good. Sterling Shepard has never been good. Sky Moore is Sky Moore. Brandon Cooks was good once upon a time. Tyler Lockett was very good once upon a time. I don't know if those guys are still even active. There's Chief Killer Gabe Davis, whose only career value is games against the Chiefs. And that's about it. That's the barrel you're scraping right now. If you're saying, oh, yeah, the Chiefs need to go out, they need to restructure a contract or two, whatever it takes, get under the cap, and go add a veteran. With that list, for me, I don't love the fit of Allen. You could talk me into Brandon Cooks, but he's 33. Or he's going to be at some point this season. I don't know how I feel about that. It's just, it's slim pickings. It's slim pickings. The counterpoint argument for Keenan Allen from the 785 on the text line. Reliability and dependability can be a difference maker. I know it's not flashy. I'm thinking of someone like Keenan Allen. That would be the one thing, certainly, in Allen's favor. That'd be the one thing he could bring, like an adult in that room. They don't really have any right now, right? Who's big bro? Who's Unk in the wide receiver room? Nobody. And they've had that, right? They've had Juju. Juju Smith-Schuster was big bro. Now I'm big bro in that room right now. Right now, big bro is Rashee Rice. So they really could benefit. Setting aside on-field impact, setting aside the fit, the on-the-field fit, the scheme fit, any of that stuff, setting all that aside, like, they might just need an adult in the wide receiver room. And that might be the most compelling argument for Keenan Allen or Brandon Cooks. Get to some other thoughts. The YouTube chat, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Andrew says, I'm not going to worry about the wide receiver room too much. I think the offense will be really different with an actual running back this year and a legitimate wide receiver coach. Pinning a lot of hopes for the improvement of this group on having someone who is an actual wide receivers coach coaching the unit. And I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I don't want to overstate the impact of the addition of Chad O'Shea to the coaching staff, but I also don't want to understate it either. I think that's real. I think the impact there could be very real. And I absolutely believe that a real running game is going to open up the passing game in some new ways. But guys got to make plays. And there's just not enough guys who've proven through 17 full games that they are reliable producers at wide receiver. But they're young players. It's, never say never until it's never. Another question from the 785 regarding camp. I know it's still early, but Mansour Delane still in the yellow non-contact jersey is raising some questions about spending a top 10 pick on the guy. Has he been injury prone in his college career? Answer to that question is not notably. He's not been notably injury prone across his college career. He suited up for every game for Virginia Tech as a sophomore, played in every game for Virginia Tech as a junior. Last year, played 11 out of the 13 games for LSU. And I'm not sure, without doing a whole lot more digging, which ones that he missed. But I guess he did miss a couple of games last year. But yeah, the 2 games missed in 3 years, that doesn't suggest to me that there's a real long-term problem there with injuries. Again, it's like I said, I don't think we're at the point where we're certainly not DEFCON 1 with Mansour Delane's injury, but you get there before you know it with a guy, especially one who's supposed to be that important to this football team. We'll take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, we'll hear what Andy Reid and Josh Simmons have to say as they spoke to the media earlier today in St. Joe. That's coming up. But first, a word from my friends at Calhoun's Jewelers here in the capital city of Kansas. The folks at Calhoun's Jewelers will help you make an informed and smart and cherished choice for whatever jewelry need you might have and for whatever occasion you might have to purchase someone a piece of jewelry, rings, necklaces, pendants, whichever. You will make a smart and informed decision that you will be happy with, and whoever receives it and wears it will be happy with for the rest of their life. That's Calhoun's Jewelers. Outstanding customer service. The best around. Go see them. You'll be glad you did. 18th and Gage in Topeka. More 580 Sports Talk next. After practice wrapped up today in St. Joe, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid spoke with the media. Here's Big Red.
Cyrus didn't practice today, but making improvement there. Baza would be the new one. He had a groin strain. Just see where that goes. Fulton has a hip flexor strain. Gelati is still making progress with the hamstring. Tranquil just had low back spasms, and so we backed off him there. And then Xavier's making progress with the shoulder. Other than that, I think that covers that part. Great to get out here and get to working. We had goal line short yardage yesterday. We had red zone today. Guys are working hard at the different situations and field positions, and the main thing is they're challenging each other and getting better every day here. So that's important. Anyways, time's yours. Yeah, so with Gelati down, he's getting a few more reps in there, doing a nice job. You can tell that his explosion off the ball is better. He's And then he's working through just playing. But he's doing a nice job with it. Way different, though, getting off of the ball. If there was one thing that jumps out at me, it's that.
Coach, Rasheed seems to be getting more live reps, even took a little hit today.
Yeah, no, he got a lot of good reps today, which is important. He just got to, ease him back in and just keep working. And we know he's a good football player. So, and you can see he actually got better as practice went on. So that was a good thing.
Andy, we didn't see Jake running school much last year. Tight end. What do you see?
He had the hamstring, so right away, even in the mini camp. So. It's great that he's back-to-back in some practices here, and then you get a chance to see what he's all about. He's a good receiver, and you know what? He's stuck his nose in there, and he's blocking. And my hat goes off to him. You got to keep stacking him, and that's his challenge right now. Yeah, so I like the pass protection. I like the way when he's not going to bounce anything or do that. He sees it, and then he lowers it, and he hits it, and in the run game. And I think that's important. Pass routes are pretty good. So he's played. He's got experience. It's just pushing yourself through this workload. And I like what I'm seeing here the last couple of days.
Kind of the same thing with Johnson as he came along?
Yeah, same deal. Now, younger guy, so he's learning as he goes here, and he's pushing himself. So you saw a couple of these where he's got to drop the pad level down. You go in high at this level, and you're going to get rearranged, and you don't want that to happen.
Xavier and Cyrus Down, what have you learned about some of your younger receivers, like Andrew Armstrong, for example?
Yeah, I like what Armstrong's doing. Big kid, strong. Looks like the quarterback trusts him, both of them, the top two guys. They trust him on his route running. He's got good speed for a big kid and good transition. He's not stiff coming out of breaks, and that's important. Then Jimmy's the other one. Jimmy is same thing. He's really shown the last few days here, and that's important for him and his job.
With Josh and Kingsley working that line, not as much work as you would like last year, but now they're really getting the full ramp-up process. What are you seeing on that left side of the line you like that?
Yeah, you can see him communicating. Kingsley does a nice job with that, making sure Josh gets all the calls and everything, so the more they play together, the better it'll be. And they're both very gifted, and so athletically. And it's just a matter of the techniques, fundamentals, all that stuff. And they work like crazy. And Heck does a good job working on those guys.
Andy, one trend that's going on in the league is more teams are having GoPros on the top of the quarterback's helmet. I guess you'll just get a better sense of what their progression and view is. Have you ever considered putting a GoPro on the quarterback's helmets?
Yeah, I stand back there. I'm a versatile GoPro.
Neil? Coach, we see one-on-one versus ones. What's that show you when you see your best on offense versus your best on defense?
I like the way they work. They know how to work without falling on the ground and doing that bit, but yet they're still coming and bringing it, which is important. They're willing to work, and they work against each other, and they do it the right way. So I appreciate that.
Coach on Josh, you remember back in camp talking about where his weight was, where he'd like to be. How's he doing weight-wise, and what do you see him?
Yeah, so he put on weight in the offseason. He's been able to maintain it, and I think it'll help him. Just not that he couldn't do it at the other weight, but this gives him a little bit more lead in his pants, and it pays off for you. Over time, it pays off for you during the season.
Nate, close up.
With Drew being out today, look to see like Jack Cochran was just a lot more active. You learn anything about him as he sort of grows his
Jack
career?
knows everything. Jack knows all the positions. He knows everything. He's a good special teams player on top of that. So you feel comfortable as a coach putting him in any of the spots, and he knows that part of it. So you need a couple guys like that out there.
That was Andy Reid earlier today. A couple of things I thought worth noting that Andy discussed. First of all, more praise for Andrew Armstrong. Cyrus Allen's gotten a lot of attention this camp, early on in the camp, and has deserved it. But Andrew Armstrong's a guy who was with the program last year and had a really good summer, had a really good performance in the mandatory minicamp. He was the guy I think that Jesse Newell had on his initial 53-man roster projection as a guy who can make this team at wide receiver. And you can always tell there are the generalities, he's doing a nice job out there that you'll get from Andy Reid on certain guys. But when he gives you something specific, like when he was talking about Armstrong's speed and his fluidity, that he's not stiff, so he comes out of his breaks real well. When Andy Reid's noticing that stuff about a player, they've really got their eye on him. So Andrew Armstrong, right now, he's probably got the lead for wide receiver number 6. Unless they really see the value in keeping Nico Remigio as a special teams guy, return man, I think Armstrong's got a line on that 6th receiver spot. Might even be the 5th one over Jalen Royals, if we're being completely honest. Speaking of, well, we're on the topic of Royals. Speaking of guys who were drafted last year, Josh Simmons also spoke to the media today in St. Joe.
Josh, just off-season, trying to get yourself physically prepared. Just talk us through that off-season, get yourself ready for this training camp, ready for the season, and just get yourself in a better position.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of trying to add off of last year. Obviously, I went against a lot of good DNs, and I have 1 year familiarity with the playbook, so it was really just kind of stacking up on that. That way I can come to the training camp ready.
Physically, just get your body right for this. Just what the process and transformation for that?
100%.
Josh, you went through one-on-ones last year this time in camp. Is there anything you wanted to work on having gone through the experience one time?
I think just going back to the basics and kind of mastering that, I think you can never go wrong with that. So every time we come out in training camp, we're going against each other. I just try to literally hone in on those basic techniques.
Josh, from your perspective, what have you seen from Mason Thomas in these early days?
Extremely explosive. You almost have to be offsides to kind of stay in front of him. So I think he'll definitely keep me in any tackle on their toes to make sure you're on the snap count for sure.
Josh, I know you're a veteran guy, but still, Cleveland's going through what you went through last year, just getting some starters for offseason tackle. What kind of memories do you have from that you can maybe impart on him?
I think Khalil's doing a great job. I think he's a very physical player. I think he should just add on to that. I think you can't really teach effort. I mean, that's what he's giving out there, so that's really all I'm telling him right now is keep doing that effort thing.
How different is it this year? Last year you were coming off the injury and maybe still rehabbing while you're trying to get through camp, going in the NFL, going through all it takes to get ready for it. Now this year you can just focus on football. How much maybe freer is your mind? How much better is your body?
Exactly like you said. I mean, you have a little bit more room on your plate to kind of fit maybe an extra hour of film here, maybe, getting with the boys, getting on something like that. Just you have more time to kind of add back into some on the field.
And the weight, I know that was one of the conversations back in minicamp.
Yep.
Good where you're at weight-wise?
Yes, sir.
What's your number?
I mean, it's kind of ballpark right now, but it's definitely where it needs to be.
Josh, it seems to us that you guys are emphasizing more of the screen game and sort of the variety of screens you guys are working on. I remember last year saying you enjoyed, running screens because of the versatility and athleticism. What does it sort of look like to you in terms of what the screen game could be with Kenneth Walker in the backfield?
Extremely scary. Obviously, we kind of know what 9 does and what he's capable of doing. So as long as we can just target and get to our assignments, we know he's going to take us home 100%.
Josh, you've been able to have the pads on for multiple days. How's it feel to kind of be back in the actual?
Feels good. Like I said, I mean, that offseason in OTAs was good. You got more familiarity with the playbook. You build more chemistry with Kingsley and Creed and how they operate and things like that. So coming back here, it was just like filling in answers for the test.
Josh, Trey talked earlier this week about his journey through camp, each year. And he's in year 6. How much has he poured into you about, year by year?
100%. I think Trey is one of the bigger role models for me coming into the league. I think everything he does in terms of how he comes into, how he approaches every drill, every workout is just, I think, what an O-lineman is supposed to be. So I just try to take from that and build my own kind of, taste to it in terms of the pro.
Last one, anyone?
You mentioned the chemistry you and Kingsley. How's that developing over these training camps?
Yeah, I mean, I understand how he kind of goes about blocks now, kind of what he's seeing and when he's coming to the line. So, I mean, if I can kind of understand and kind of have that telepathy with him, then I think we can play a lot faster.
That was Josh Simmons earlier today in St. Joe. You could hear the smile on his face talking about the screen game with Kenneth Walker as a part of it. I've made this point before. The Chiefs' offensive line is athletic. Strong, yeah, big, sure, but they got athletes up front. They got guys who can get down the field, get to the second level, and wipe people out. Simmons, Sumatai, Humphrey, Smith, all can do that. it should be a devastating screen game that the Chiefs have. And they just haven't been able to get to it because, well, last year in particular, none of their running backs are good wide receivers. Now they have a running back who can make it happen in the screen game. I think that's going to be a massive part of the offense. Not like they're going to run a screen every series, but it's going to be a source of explosive plays that the Chiefs really did not have available to them last year. We'll take one last break this hour, come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. We are 40 days away from Chiefs kickoff as countdown to kickoff continues here on 580 Sports Talk. 40 days from Chiefs Broncos at Arrowhead Stadium. And oh, by the way, it's just Arrowhead Stadium again. In case you missed that bit of news today, GEHA announcing that while they will remain a corporate partner with the Chiefs, they're getting out of the naming rights game. So the stadium that was known as Arrowhead Stadium and then was known as GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, but which you all still called and I still called Arrowhead Stadium, is now called officially again Arrowhead Stadium. So there's that today from Chiefs camp as well. 40 days until things kick off at Arrowhead Stadium. There is no current 40 on the Chiefs roster. Ethan Downs had it on the roster last year. Last Chief to wear it of any real note was probably Derek Gore, the running back in 2021. Best Chief to wear it, you know him. You loved him. James Hasty, really good player there for a handful of years. 40 days away from kickoff. Hey, let's send somebody to the rodeo, shall we? The Big 94.5 Country Topeka PRCA Rodeo presented by Sunbelt Rentals is back August 21st and 22nd. I want to send you and 3 of your friends or family members. I got a 4-pack of tickets to caller number 3 to 785-272-9429. 785-272-9429. Caller number 3 is going to the rodeo. We're talking college football and doing a Wildcat wrap-up next hour. Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday. So glad you're here with us on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube. We're live and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in a little while. He's a little bit detained today, but he'll be with us here during this 4 o'clock hour. We've got you until 6 o'clock today. Then we'll pass things off to the Royals Radio Network for game 2 out of 3 at Kauffman Stadium between the Royals and the Twins. Royals were 8-2 winners last night. Another dub for the Dauber, Randy Dobnak. I don't know if anybody calls him the Dauber. That's what I've taken to calling him. He's a delight. Like, there's been so little to enjoy from this Royals season that if you can't enjoy a guy who was an Uber driver and hadn't won a big league game in 5 years and looks like the guy who lives on your buddy's couch and is constantly between jobs and looks like he might be stowing away a robin's nest in his beard, that guy has pitched like an ace for like 3 weeks, that's fun. There has been a shortage of fun this Royals season. And I don't mean to rain on the parade when I say things like, well, regression of the mean is coming for Randy Dobnak, and it's going to hit him like an anvil to the face, which is true. Who cares? I can be right another time. Let's just enjoy the Dauber while we've got him, okay? Let's just enjoy the year or the month or the handful of weeks of the Dauber. Because I'll tell you one thing about the Dauber. He's out there pitching his tail off. He might not have much, but he's given everything he's got. And I can appreciate that. I bet we're going to see some Dauber jerseys at the K before too long. There's going to be somebody 10 years from now. Royals are back in the playoffs. Hopefully, they're back in the playoffs before. It's less than 10 years before they return to the playoffs. But just for the sake of the analogy, like a decade from now, you're going to go to a playoff game, and there's going to be somebody you pass on the concourse wearing a Randy Dobnak jersey. And you're going to give that guy a high five. And you're going to say, hell yeah, brother. I remember the Dauber. I remember where I was. Anyway, game 2 tonight. Noah Cameron, who does not have a nickname as catchy as the Dauber. And I don't know if he ever drove for Uber. So, just less interesting all around, I suppose. But Noah Cameron is on the bump for Kansas City tonight. Newly acquired Dean Kramer takes the ball for the Twins. 6:40, your first pitch time, 6 o'clock pregame here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. It's been this kind of season for the Royals. Ryan in the YouTube chat says, I'm actually pro lockout for the season. Well, hey, if they do lock out, Randy Dobnak can fire up that Uber app. He can get back into driving. I think he had a really good driver rating, like 4.9 stars, something like that. Anyhow. We'll get to some baseball a little bit later on in the show. Also, in the 5 o'clock hour today, Mitch Holtz's voice of the Chiefs will join us at 5:25 for a training camp report. Bottom of this hour, Ryan Gilbert's going to join me. He's the managing editor at GoPowerCat.com. He'll tap in for the Wildcat wrap-up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, with camp getting underway in Manhattan today. The Colin Klein era getting closer and closer to kicking off. We got What Is Wrong With You this hour. We will get to some 580 Sports Talk headlines in the 5 o'clock hour, including if we have any updates to pass along to you that are not anything that is already public. We will share with you anything additional that we learn about the status. I know we had some people wondering on the text line, and obviously we're all thinking today it's been a heavy day for me personally. I know for everybody affiliated with Washburn University Athletics, worried about Brett Ballard, the head men's basketball coach who was involved in an accident, automobile accident last night, sustained serious injuries, was still in the hospital as of this morning. And it's been a heavy day thinking about that and thinking about Coach Ballard, who I've come to know professionally, a little bit personally, and who I'm very fond of, and just hoping for the best for him, thinking of his family, thinking of his wife, his 3 children. But we will flesh that out a little bit more in headlines, and if there is anything of anything reportable that we could pass on to you, we'll be sure to do it then in our 580 Sports Talk headlines. But I just wanted to acknowledge that I did see those of you in the text line. There were a couple of you, and in the live chat who were asking about that. Obviously, don't mean to downplay that, but it's difficult to talk about. It's been a difficult day since learning that news this morning. But we'll have more, if there is more to give you, we'll have more on that in our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Text line is open, as I mentioned, 785-272-9429. You can text the program, 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube channel. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. So, camp is open in Manhattan. Camp opened up in Lawrence yesterday. We're 24 days away from week 0, which means we're a month away from the start of the college football season for Kansas and Kansas State. 30 days away from the Friday night opener for KU against Long Island, and 31 days from K-State beginning the Colin Klein era at home at Bill Snyder Family Stadium against Nichols. And I'm not breaking any journalistic ground when I point out that the expectations for Kansas and Kansas State are a little bit different this year. Different expectations for both programs. We're a long way from, it doesn't feel like that long ago. 2 years, it's in some ways it feels like a long time, in some ways it feels like a lifetime. But 2 years ago, when both KU and K-State entered the season ranked, and both KU and K-State were considered Big 12 contenders in a league that had been thrown into upheaval, that was newly a 16-team league, and nobody really knew what to expect, who was going to be good, who was going to grab the league by the throat. And all that uncertainty, expectations couldn't have been higher for the Jayhawks and the Wildcats going into that 2024 season. And the roads have diverged a little bit since then. Kansas has missed bowls back-to-back years. K-State was bowl eligible last year, but chose not to play in one as they saw diminishing returns from 8 wins in 2024 to just 6 last year. But entering the season, there is more optimism about Kansas State than there is about Kansas. There is some belief, and I don't share it, but there is some belief that Kansas could find itself at the bottom of the Big 12 standings this year. So we'll start there. Because what is it reasonable to expect from Kansas? What can they reasonably achieve? And this is where they are not so dissimilar, Kansas and Kansas State. What you think they can do probably depends on what their quarterback ends up doing. And again, this is another area in which I'm not breaking a whole lot of new ground when I tell you that quarterback play is really important, guys. I Man, you're just not getting that anywhere else. Only on 580 Sports Talk are you getting that kind of analysis, right? Quarterbacks matter. I should patent that, put it on a shirt. But in all seriousness, it's the same answer to the question. It's the same belief, but again, for different reasons, because the expectations are different. The level of experience at quarterback is different. The ceiling at quarterback is different for both teams. So starting with Kansas, that's a program where 6-6 returning to bowl eligibility would be, I think, an achievement for that team. After missing out the last 2 years with, it should be noted, not just decent quarterback play, but experienced quarterback play with Jalen Daniels, I think 6-6 would be an accomplishment this year that would show that the program's moving in the right direction. I don't think 5-7, depending on the 5, would be a total disaster. I think you get to 4 wins or, God forbid, 3-9, you're going to have to start asking some real uncomfortable questions about the future and the trajectory of a program that you just spent a whole lot of money to build a new house for. So it would behoove them to be more competitive than, again, there are some believe that they will be. But I think 6-6 is a reasonable, if we get there, we've done something to celebrate. We've gotten to a bowl. And so whoever ends up winning the quarterback job in Lawrence, and it is clearly Cole Ballard's job to lose at this point. That was kind of the assumption going into the spring. And as the fall begins, I think it's pretty clear that it is Cole Ballard's job to lose. Or maybe it's, if you'd rather phrase it a different way, Isaiah Marshall has to win the job. He has to rip it from him. Marshall has to be undeniable. Cole Ballard just has to be the guy his teammates and his coaches trust. But I don't think that Kansas is looking for anything more out of their quarterback. And if they were, I wonder if they'd be leaning as heavily in the direction of Ballard as they are. But I don't think they're looking for anything more from their quarterback this year than to be a steady hand, be a leader, take care of the ball, and if Kansas has a chance to win a game, don't be the reason they don't. The classic game manager prototype. And Cole Ballard can do that. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You go back to that KU K-State game in Lawrence a couple years back. KU has K-State beaten. And of course, we know how that goes because it's the same way it's gone for almost 2 decades now. But Rich Miller doesn't drop a pick 6. KU wins that game probably by multiple touchdowns. And the fact that Rich Miller dropped the interception doesn't have really anything to do with Cole Ballard. Cole Ballard making one of his first career starts in that crucible, in that rivalry, and performing the way that he did was admirable. And that night, they didn't ask for anything spectacular. They didn't ask him to throw for 400 yards or rush for 4 touchdowns or anything like that. Just, hey, keep this thing in the road. We'll scheme our guys into good positions. This was, again, the Andy Kotelnicki era, right? And Andy Kotelnicki's back. There's a lot of faith that he can do the job of getting guys open or getting guys the ball in good positions. All Cole Ballard has to do is be the point guard. He doesn't have to be flashy. He doesn't have to be the point god. He doesn't have to be like Magic Johnson. He just has to be, man, how esoteric do I want to be here? He just has to be like Mark Jackson, Terrell Brandon, Andre Miller. Do you have any NBA heads out there who are like enjoying remembering some guys right now? And that's pretty lofty too. Like Brandon Miller, like those guys were all stars. But you get the point, right? They don't have to be the superstar. They don't have to be the fulcrum. They just have to operate the show and get the ball to the guys who score. Can Cole Ballard do that? Can he do it effectively against a season's worth of Big 12 defenses when they're going to have film of him, when they're going to know what he can do and what he's not comfortable doing in a way that Kansas State really didn't when they played him 3 years ago? That's the big question. But If KU felt like they needed to make the upside play, they would be leaning towards Isaiah Marshall. If they felt like, man, we're not going to have enough juice unless we put the ball in the hands of the best athlete, they'd give it over to Isaiah Marshall. And I suppose they still might. But the fact that they're leaning towards Cole Ballard it's a vote of confidence for the offensive line, which has been consistent, even though they've got to replace some important faces. It's a vote of confidence in a deeper running back room with a guy in Dylan Edwards who, say what you want about him. Lord knows we have on this radio show, but say what you want about Dylan Edwards. But when he is on the field and he is right, he's a rare dude. And it's a vote of confidence in the wide receiver group led by Cam Pickett, and certainly it's a vote of confidence in Andy Kotelnicki that they can make the offense sing even with a guy whose ceiling kind of tops out at capable game manager. The ceiling is obviously different for Avery Johnson. Do you remember going into 2024 which major national publication picked Avery Johnson to win the Heisman before the season? I think it was the New York Post. It was something on the East Coast. This is one of the rare occasions where I'm not actually asking a rhetorical question. I'm asking you if you remember, because my memory's fuzzy. I just remember that it happened. And I know that has followed him. That expectation has followed him through the last 2 seasons of occasionally excellent, occasionally frustrating, altogether good but not quite great football that Johnson has played at Kansas State. I think he has shown that he is a quarterback you can win with, but he has also been a quarterback that has left you wanting more. So the big questions in Manhattan this year, I think you kind of start with this. How much of last season was Matt Wells' fault? And if you want to throw Chris Kleiman on that pile as well, that's probably fair. To say how much of the problem last year was Avery Johnson being put in not advantageous positions, being put in spots, being asked to do things that were not playing to his strengths. How much more beneficial will it be to be in Colin Klein's offense? But there's another question that's going to define the season for Kansas State, because it's going to define the level of Avery Johnson's play. Because, again, we have seen what it looks like when he puts his foot in the ground and goes. I still think he's the best runner of the football on that roster, with respect to Joe Jackson and the others. We have seen what that looks like. We've seen him make some big-time throws. We've seen him have some big-time performances, win some football games, put up a lot of points. Can he stop turning the ball over? Can he turn off the switch in his brain that makes him commit some of, and let's be honest about some of the turnovers that Avery Johnson has committed in his career. They are some of the worst turnovers in the history of the sport of American football. Right? Like, there are some howlers in that mix. And you would think that as the player enters their senior season, you get away from making plays that make you go, dude, what are you thinking? And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes that switch never gets unflipped. Brock Purdy played a whole college career at Iowa State and has had a whole career in the NFL with that switch still fully engaged, that toggle in the on position. Can Avery Johnson shut it off? Can he take better care of the football? Can he not be the reason that the defense's backs are against the wall? And then the other question, and this is less about him, but this is about the talent. This is the big question as it pertains to the talent around him. Last couple of years, Avery Johnson had a Jace Brown. He doesn't have Jace Brown this year. So who's the go-to guy? Who's the field stretcher? I like Jaron Tibbs. Tibbs showed some real promise last year. Is he a number 1 wide receiver in the Big 12? Is Garrett Oakley going to level up? Is Lincoln Cure going to perform like a 5-star sophomore ought to perform? If Kansas State's receivers hit their benchmarks, and if Avery Johnson is a more willing runner and a more effective runner, and I think K-State's offense is going to sing. But it's consistency and it's turnovers. And yeah, it's going to require the emergence of 1, maybe 2 big play wide receivers. for K-State to be really good. Because a lot of things are in place for them, the schedule most notably, for them to be better than a lot of people expect. But Avery's got to make it pay off. And he's got to be the one that writes that ending for his 4-year K-State career. Because coming off of a Big 12 championship and signing that guy, if you had told me Kansas State, given the state of the league and who was in it, if you told me Kansas State wasn't going to win a Big 12 championship game or at least play for one with Avery Johnson as their quarterback, that would have surprised me. And it would have felt like a disappointment. He's got one more shot. He may yet make the most of it. A lot of things, again, working in their favor. I think the easiest schedule of any of the would-be contenders in the Big 12. Can he just be more consistent? Because the highs are still really high. And now he'll be in a system to get to the highs, hopefully a little bit more often. Can he just avoid the lows? We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, we got What Is Wrong With You. We still got Ryan Gilbert joining us. GoPowerCat.com as well for the Wildcat wrap-up presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. So stay with us. This is 580 Sports Talk at 580 WIBW.
Something that is going to be very beneficial for them as they're starting to age and be proactive in sports and other things that they've got interested in. And so we know Topeka to be a very tight-knit community, even though it may be a large capital city, right? And so that's one of the things that really drew us to this city.
Why is Smoothie King the right choice for the active person, the person who is interested in maintaining their health, maintaining their wellness? What makes Smoothie King the best choice for those people to replenish, refuel, and keep their health up?
Yeah, well, I think in today's day and age, more and more people are really more health conscious about what they're putting into their bodies, right? And we know with our years since 1973 of creating smoothies, we know all the good stuff that goes in it. So we're not putting in all the preservatives or things that are really bad for people. We actually have a clean blend or a no-no list of ingredients that go into our smoothies. But we're very focused on macros. So think nutrition, right? And protein and certain fats. We have dietary restrictions or things that can actually be put or removed into our smoothies. So if someone's got any kind of allergens like a peanut allergy or a nut allergy, or maybe they have a dairy or lactose intolerance, right? We can actually customize smoothies to meet the dietary restrictions or the dietary needs that they have. And so we really try to take this a holistic approach to really provide a great tasting smoothie that's going to help them with their nutritional values.
Ryan Christopher with Smoothie King coming to the capital city. Ryan, we're really excited to have you guys as part of the community and really excited to try some of those smoothies.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Don't miss the grand opening of Smoothie King Saturday, August 22nd at their new location in Topeka, 2121 South Wanamaker Road, Suite 107. And we'll have more 580 Sports Talk after this. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? We got two new stories competing today. Did see one in the text line. We're not going to get to that one today, but rest assured, we will use we always like user-submitted what is wrong with yous, and we'll get to that one at a later date. But I saw my story today, and I could not resist it. So I will go first. We are going to Wales. We're going across the pond.
Wow.
We're going to Wales, where a 26-year-old man has been arrested after dressing like the Grim Reaper and climbing onto the roof of a hospital to stare at staff and visitors. North Wales Police and North Wales Fire and Rescue Service were called after the man dressed in the black hooded outfit was seen overlooking the entrance at the hospital. If you think I'm going to try and pronounce the name of that hospital, there are 4 Y's. There's a W before a Y. No chance. Not going to do it. It's a hospital in St. Asaph, Denbighshire, on Saturday, June 6th. The man, later identified as Leon Gillespie, was also seen brandishing what appeared to be a long blade. He was later charged with causing a nuisance or disturbance without reasonable excuse on NHS premises. National Health Service. That's what they got over there in the United Kingdom. 4 police cars and a fire service vehicle were seen at the hospital during the 50-minute-long incident. Gillespie pled guilty to the offense and was handed a 200-pound fine by magistrates. No reason was given for his behavior. In addition, I missed this when I first read this story. In addition, he admitted stealing 30 to 40 pounds worth of cat food. That's the not like the weight, that's the currency. And cat litter from Pets at Home on March 26th, and stealing food and drink from a Sainsbury's grocery store on May 28th. So, he's admitted to a couple of other crimes while he was at it. So, like, did he do anything to threaten these people? Did he yell? Did he shout? Did he make a scene? No. He just stood on the roof of a hospital dressed like the Grim Reaper. And I, for one, think that's funny as hell. Maybe that says something about me. I don't know. But I think that's really funny.
Yeah, it's a funny story. Sorry, I'm dealing with technical issues. We are aware that the video stream is very much so having issues.
Okay.
Just for those that are about to comment that they can't see Dan. He's a disembodied voice.
Oh, okay. Well,
and that I'm a frozen frame. Yeah. So I'll just go with my what is wrong with you.
Yeah, do your what is wrong with you instead. Yes.
We're going to Cape Coral, Florida. A North Fort Myers man was arrested Thursday after police said he reportedly threatened 2 children with a knife outside a Hobby Lobby. According to Cape Coral Police Department arrest report, officers responded around 2:50 p.m. on July 30th to the shopping plaza for a disturbance involving a weapon. Police said that 2 told officers they had stopped their e-bike near the Hobby Lobby entrance to look at their phone when a man approached them. According to the report, the man reportedly pulled a folding knife with a black handle and a silver blade from his fanny pack, opened it, and asked, "Where are you riding to, bleep?" While walking toward them, the 2 told police they feared for their safety. They left their e-bikes behind and ran to the Hobby Lobby where other adults were present. Officers later located a man matching the description in front of a nearby Chipotle. Police identified him as James Bork and said he was reportedly carrying a folding knife matching the victim's description. Investigators reviewed surveillance video from Hobby Lobby that showed the children arriving on their e-bike quickly, looking over their shoulders, abandoning the bike, running into the store. The suspect was not visible in the camera's field of view. Police said each of the children separately identified him during a show-up identification with 100% certainty. Officers seized the folding knife as evidence. He was arrested and is facing a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Yikes. Bad guy.
Yeah.
Not much more.
Can't do that to kids, man,
No.
especially. Like, you can't do it to anybody, but, man, kids, like.
Yeah, not much more to add to that than that. So the Grim Reaper, or great text from the 785, calls him the Dim Creeper. I think that wins the day.
The Dim Creeper.
That's really good. That's going to be the winner today. Vance asked in the YouTube chat, am I going to hell for laughing so hard at this story? Like, you got to have a good chuckle, right? You walk into the hospital, you see the Grim Reaper. And, like, he wasn't making a show out of it, right? He wasn't up there. He wasn't yelling at anybody. He just, like, he didn't have a scythe, but he had like a long blade. Well, maybe he did. They don't really specify what the long blade was. Like, if he had the full-on Grim Reaper scythe going and just standing there, your time is coming. I think that wins the week. I think that beats yesterday's winner, which we called the Rocky Horror Picture Show Horror Stage Show. Bit of a mouthful, but the guy who made threats to himself so that he could get the Rocky Horror Picture Show stage performance that he was supposed to be running canceled because he didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
which is really good. Like, that's really funny too. We don't normally turn over the winner twice in 3 different winners in 3 days, like in the week. That's rare for us. But this guy just standing on the roof of the hospital in Wales. So the story's from The Independent in the United Kingdom, and I love the final paragraph here.
You've appeared on video again, by the way.
Oh, wonderful. The Grim Reaper is a mythological character known as Death Personified who collects souls after they die. Thank you for that. Thank you for the clarification.
They have to add some context. I guess
know.
Not everybody knows the Grim Reaper.
That's true. Yeah, that may not be maybe a foreign concept to some. The dim creeper is really funny to me. Another text with 785. That would have really freaked out everybody who didn't catch him in the act. Yeah, we're going to go with that one. The dim creeper. Yeah. That's our winner on What Is Wrong With You. Before we get to the Wildcat wrap-up with Ryan Gilbert of GoPowerCat.com, quick word for the good people at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. I know you never think about a car wash on a day when it rains, but
it did like 25 minutes ago, by the way.
Which it did. Yes, I'm aware. I was out in the rain even earlier today. So you're probably not thinking today, I need to go get a car wash, but you're probably going to be thinking about it tomorrow, or the day after, or a week, or a month from now when people are spelling stuff on your bumper. Don't wait that long. Go to Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. They'll give you the brightest shine on the road. And if you're an Ultimate Wash Pass member, you don't even have to think twice. You just go tomorrow. You can go whenever. You can go as many times as you want. And Ultimate Wash Pass memberships start as low as $19 a month to get your car washed as much as you want each month. And if you sign up today, your first month starts as low as $9 a month. Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon in Fairlawn Plaza. Soar with the Eagle. Ryan Gilbert is next. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Ryan Gilbert, the managing editor of GoPowerCat.com, who joins us for this week's Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Ryan, the camp is open for K-State football. They opened up their fall camp starting today, and I'm curious what you think is the most intriguing of the position battles that are lined up for Kansas State at camp, whether that's a one-on-one position battle or just a group that needs to have some guys separate and earn some playing time, broadly speaking. What in your mind is the position battle to watch at K-State football camp?
Well, we talked on our PowerCat podcast that went up today about maybe some bold players that might surprise some people. And a couple of guys that got brought up were maybe just offensive linemen and wideouts. And when you look at returning production from a purple jersey last season, there's not much at the wideout spot other than Jerron Tibbs. There's not much on the offensive line outside of John Pastorian. So those two positions, just in general, are going to have a lot of playing time up for grabs with the backups from last year or incoming transfers or, new freshmen out of high school ranks, which I guess, it's going to be no more redshirt freshmen. You're a sophomore if you have a year under your belt now with the new NCAA rules. But, yeah, some of those younger players can step up, and obviously those transfers at the offensive line, the wideouts, there are probably a couple, groups where I think the coaching staff would like to see, some players kind of rise up and I wouldn't say make their job easier, but not give them such a tough decision to make if some guys just step up.
You'd like to give Avery Johnson a vertical threat, take the top off the defense, and a reliable underneath, catches everything. He's there when I need him for 7 yards sort of receiving option. And it helped the last couple of years that it was the same guy. Jace Brown could be both of those things, but Jace Brown not walking through that door. So the deep threat of it all is what I'm most interested in. Who is that on this roster? Who is the likeliest guy to be the field stretcher for Kansas State at that wide receiver spot?
Well, it's tough. I mean, Sterling Lockett, I think in an ideal world would be that guy, but based off of what we've seen, I don't know if you can really rely on that. But last name, DNA, I think he checks those boxes, but he does, maybe have a long way to go. Isaiah Williams, coming out of Texas A&M, I think you can look at, being in a program like that and Colin Klein, wanting to, maybe bring him in. Brandon White also kind of comes to mind, but, you're going to need those explosive plays, right? No doubt about it. But with Colin Klein and the tough, hard-nosed football, maybe this is a team that does kind of get their bread buttered by just kind of bruising you around and just out-physicaling players. So, I guess a couple guys, like I said, Isaiah Williams could be up there, but, I guess Kansas State's explosive plays with Avery Johnson with his leg might be where you can hang your hat.
Ryan Gilbert is the managing editor of GoPowerCat.com. He is joining us for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors here on 580 Sports Talk. Ryan, I thought you made an interesting point in the on the podcast you were on with Cole Carmody, talking about, and I think this was a point of real frustration for the program the last even 3-4 years under Chris Kleiman, that for every time it felt like Kansas State showed up, punched above its weight, scored a marquee win, whether it was against Oklahoma or whether it was the Big 12 championship game against TCU, for every one of those, it felt like there was a dud. It felt like there was, losing as a double-digit home favorite to Tulane. A good Tulane team, but still. Losing games, losing to Houston in the rain on the road. Those duds, those stinkers. There were too many losses in games, not just toss-up games, but games where Kansas State on paper didn't have any business losing. How does Kansas State get away from that? What ways can Colin Klein and this staff make sure that the Wildcats are more dialed in for those games in ways that we saw the program get dialed in for the games against the big boys.
Well, first of all, thank you for listening to the podcast. But it is, when you're not wrong at all, right? Those losses under Chris Kleiman, for every good win, there was a bad loss. So if you're Colin Klein, it doesn't matter how many of those quote-unquote big games you can win. If you can't get rid of that bad loss bug, that's going to linger and linger and linger. And really, I think getting a team ready and just being prepared, right? I don't blame any group of guys for maybe overlooking Tulane. Like you said, you're at home, double-digit favorite, right? Houston, that rain game, like you said. Again, you're supposed to win that game. So I'm not necessarily going to say it's uncommon, or I'm not going to fault a team for maybe coming out flat-footed when they are deemed the favorite to win the game. But this is where Colin Klein's going to have to step up and say, hey, this is, every game is very important. It's a 1-week season, as Chris Kleiman would like to always say. Now, with Kleiman, it was more of a player-led locker room, a player-led program, and how you get a team riled up for a game against Tulane or at Houston when Houston's not good might be tough, right? If you're not the head coach that's riling up the guys, it's, maybe it's on the guys to rile the team up. And if the guys aren't riled up, well, then you're not going to come out with that much fight in you in some of those games. Now, Colin Klein, physically, in terms of just the game itself, can do all he wants. But I think it's very fair to question his ability to lead a group of men. I mean, you talk to Colin Klein, he's a very, very kind, soft-spoken man, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. But if you're looking for a head coach to get you to run through a brick wall, Colin Klein is not going to be that guy. He's not going to be yelling and screaming at his players. It's not who he is. And so it's a valid concern for Kansas State here. You can talk about how high the ceiling might be all you want, but the floor has to be high as well. If you can't win some of those quote unquote easy games, you're going to have trouble. You're going to have trouble. You're going to have problems. And so Colin Klein, that's something I've always been kind of going back to since he got hired, was he's never been a leader of men before. Turning the notches obviously down sometimes on some players, but sometimes turning the notches up is going to be a challenge. And to be blunt, he's going to have to learn that on the fly. It's his first time as a head coach.
The other thing about that, you're talking about a program, like we said, that seemed to bring its best for the big occasions and had some real marquee wins, real special wins under Chris Kleiman. There aren't a lot of marquee games on this schedule. Kansas State only plays one preseason top 25 team from the coaches poll. That's Houston at home in their 5th game of the season. There's no Tech. There's no BYU. There's no Utah on this schedule. So there's not that one game. I mean, obviously there's the Sunflower Showdown. There's Farmageddon. Those are always big games. But there's not that other game where you circle in red like this is our chance to make a statement, throw a marker down. So is that something that can maybe work in Kansas State's favor in the sense that, all right, no one game is bigger than the next. We got to treat them all the same. And that starts with Nichols treating that one like we'll treat Farmageddon.
I mean, the Houston game, definitely, you said it, like, best opponent, but even that comes at home. So even if you win the game, no one's going to look at you and say, wow, that was a crazy win. If it happens on the road, maybe you get some teams, Arizona State, TCU could step up, and that could be a signature win. But, yeah, the schedule doesn't line up nicely for K-State to go out and get that dominant victory. Now, I think it's wrong to say it doesn't exist in the Big 12, right? If you beat Texas Tech, that's going to stand out no matter what. I mean, Texas Tech has just kind of emerged in this league. So it's not that it doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist on this schedule in the 2026 season, for Kansas State. And so it's a good thing, though, like you said. The schedule's easier. It's going to be easier to win more games. And, yeah, you might not have that one to hang your hat on, right? If you're kind of on that, bubble with the committee, come that time of year, you might be in trouble. If your best win, happens to be, I don't know, Arizona State on the road or something like that, well, you might be in trouble. If you lose to Houston, you lose another game, you've got a couple losses, and you're on the outside looking in, and you don't have that marquee win to hang your hat on, you might be in trouble. But it's going to be, the avenue to getting to, Big 12 title level football is easy. You go on the sports books and look at the odds. Kansas State, by some, sports book is at number 4 to win the Big 12, just behind Texas Tech, Utah, and BYU. And so I don't think that that's necessarily saying Kansas State is the 4th best team in the conference. That is, Kansas State's path to getting to Arlington is probably the 4th, most viable when you factor in obviously how good or bad our team is. But when you look at that full schedule, that's where that really comes into play. And so obviously the Big 12 is going to change. A team could come up and be on fire, and that is the marquee win. But as it stands today, that marquee win isn't on the schedule. But like you said, Dan, that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's an easier, path to go out and win 9-10 games.
Last thing for Ryan Gilbert, managing editor at GoPowerCat.com, on this week's Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors here on 580 Sports Talk. You made an allusion to it earlier, but obviously the new rules and regulations for eligibility, 5 years to play 5 years. And then last week, everybody who played 4 in 4 and graduated in either the winter or the spring got an extra year all of a sudden, or at least a temporary relief to be eligible to play in 2026 and 2027. And all hell is breaking loose in some places. At Kansas State, is Casey Alexander going to look at that new pool of players as a possibility, or is he going to be happy with what he's got on that front? And do you think that Colin Klein would consider an addition to their roster if there was somebody out there who made sense?
Well, I haven't heard much, to be honest. I know it's just basketball specifically. C.J. Jones is off to Pacific, I believe. And so he was one. I think Nate Johnson, but he's got, NBA G League, type stuff. And so if it were to happen for any program, I think it'd be football, right? Because Colin Klein was more so taking the torch that was lit from Chris Kleiman, right? That's just like a changing of the guard, and there's going to be a lot of similarities in those programs. You look at Casey Alexander, keeping one player from Jerome Tang's squad. He wants to change the culture. And to be blunt, this isn't a shot at Jerome Tang. Casey Alexander is looking for different players than what Tang brought in. And so I'd be surprised if anyone with hoops, is brought up. But with football, that's something to keep an eye on for sure, but haven't necessarily heard a whole lot at this point.
Ryan Gilbert, managing editor, GoPowerCat.com, joining us for this week's Wildcat Wrap-Up, which is sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Ryan, always a pleasure. We'll do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That is Ryan Gilbert. We'll take a timeout. Come back with a round of One Gotta Go to wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. One got to go on 580 Sports Talk. Quick game to wrap up this 4 o'clock hour. The new season of Ted Lasso is out or has begun on Apple TV+. Ted Lasso Season 4, a.k.a. Jason Sudeikis owes a lot of child support. That show, I thought
never seen it.
Season 1 was great. Season 2 was all right. Season 3, I was kind of glad they were wrapping it up. Season 4, I'll get to it if I get to it. That's kind of where I'm at with Ted Lasso. But Season 1, very good. So in that spirit, television shows from the sports world. We've got Ted Lasso. We got Coach. We got Friday Night Lights. And we've got, think of one more. I had something for this. Shoresy, the hockey one on Hulu with the Canadian guys.
Friday Night Lights, classic, true cult like classic.
Yeah, I started watching it. I never got around to finishing it. I started watching it. Came out when I was in college, and I read the book, loved the movie, all the way in on a TV show, and everything in the world said that show was going to get canceled. Everybody was saying, yeah, nobody is watching this. There's no way it's going to get a second season. So I checked out. I'm like, I don't want to get invested in a show that's not going to come back. And then I'm getting 5 seasons. And I never could get back in it.
It's funny.
I never could get back in it. A lot of obviously great actors in that show. And Coach was pretty great, though. If you ever get a chance to run down Coach, I don't know what streaming service that's on anymore.
I
Netflix
don't even
for a while.
know what that is.
Craig T. Nelson played a college football coach. The voice of Patrick on SpongeBob was his assistant. He was Dauber. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's good. Minnesota State. The Minnesota State, whatever they were. Fake Minnesota State, not like real Minnesota State Moorhead. You got one?
Yeah, real quick. The bottom 5 quarterbacks that I have ranked, who could actually surprise and have a good season? Tyler Shock, Geno Smith, Jacoby Brissett, Malik Willis, or whoever the Browns trot out.
Maybe Malik Willis is good. He's, I think, shown some flashes. I just don't think there's any talent around him. That's all going to depend on. That's all going to depend on just what they do with him there in Miami. I don't think Shuck is good. I think he's probably a mediocrity.
Yeah,
he might still end up being the best of those 5, but I think he's pretty mediocre.
Yeah, I mean they're all not great. So
who's your choice?
It was Tyler Shuck.
All right. We'll take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk for the top of the hour. When we come back in the 5 o'clock hour, we got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And we got Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Chiefs, for the third of our training camp reports. That's coming up in the final hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday. Hope you're staying dry out there. Hope your car windows are rolled up. We had a texter from the 785 have us make sure nobody's got their windows down. It just started raining again.
Well, that did happen to me.
Looking out for you, Spencer. They're looking out for you. That's Spencer Dupuis. I'm Dan Lucero. And you're tuned into the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. We're online at 580WIBW.com. We are on your mobile device on the MSC radio app, and we're on YouTube at 580 Sports Talk. We are with you until 6 o'clock, at which point we'll hand things off to the Royals Radio Network for Game 2 of the three-game series between the Royals and the Twins. 6:40 first pitch. No ceremony tonight to move the game back at all. Nobody set any home run history last night.
No, but the former home run king said a lot of stuff on the Royals.tv broadcast.
He sure did. George Brett is well past the age where he has to give a damn anymore. And, he's going to speak his mind and not hold back. And that was an entertaining that was one of those thanks for stopping by the booth type of performances.
I didn't watch it, but I saw on Royals Twitter what was said, and I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Speak your mind.
No, he always will, and he gets to do that because he's George Brett and you're not.
Yeah.
So anyhow, game will start on time. I guess I'm not expecting a rain delay or anything. I hope I don't jinx that. But 6:40, first pitch, 6 o'clock pregame coverage here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We'll talk a little Royals baseball later on this hour, because last night, actually kind of a fun night at Kauffman Stadium, a routine win. Bobby Witt Jr. back, and not a coincidence that with his return, the Royals look like a more credible baseball organization.
They do. He had, 3 hits, 2
RBIs?
RBIs?
Yeah, big 2-run double to break the game open.
I'm just glad we, as 580 Sports Talk, we care about you, the Royals fan. We sent a Royals fan to the game last night, right?
We did.
And they won.
Yeah.
They scored 8 runs.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is true. And hopefully they can stack another one tonight behind Noah Cameron. We'll get a little bit more into that later on this hour. Of course, coming up in about 16 minutes, Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, will join us once again for another training camp report brought to us by Azure Credit Union and Hy-Vee. Today we're talking about Chris Jones. We're doing the standards week. Every week kind of has a theme with the training camp reports. We always open up with the future Hall of Famers. We always hear from Mahomes and Kelsey and Reid and Chris Jones is in that mix. So we'll look forward to. We got some exclusive audio from Chris Jones, and we'll get Mitch Holtis' take on what he's seen so far from big number 95. And his teaser yesterday had to do with a number that has to improve, and it's not the sack column. It's something else. And Mitch knows his numbers, especially when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm interested to hear what exactly he meant by it. So
I'm
Mitch
interested.
Will join us in the 5:25
to get the tease on who our 4th chief is.
Yeah,
because then you know where the line is. I've got a thought, But I'll wait.
Yeah, I guess we will. We'll find out with Mitch coming up in about 15 minutes. Well, we have our 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to as well. We begin with this somber note. Surely you have seen this by now. It is public info by now, but the news broke earlier this morning that the head men's basketball coach at Washburn University, Brett Ballard, was seriously injured in a single vehicle accident yesterday evening just west of the Interstate 470 I-70 split on the Kansas Turnpike. The 46-year-old Ballard was driving a 2024 Ford F-150 when the vehicle left the roadway, went to the left, struck a delineator post, hit the embankment, and then a bridge pillar. He was transported to Stormont Vale Hospital with serious injuries where he remained today. Highway Patrol did say that Ballard was wearing his seatbelt in the accident. A statement from University President Julianne Mazachek was released earlier this morning that read, "We are deeply saddened to share that Coach Brett Ballard was seriously injured in a car accident last evening. Our hearts are with Coach Ballard, his family, the men's basketball program, and all who are affected during this difficult time. We ask our community to keep them in their thoughts during this time of recovery and to respect the family's privacy. The university will share additional information when appropriate." We don't have anything further on that, or at least nothing further that I have heard that I frankly feel comfortable making public information because I don't think it's my story to tell in particular, and I don't particularly care to be first or break any news on this subject. So whenever there is more information that is public, that can be shared, we'll certainly pass it along. But I mentioned this at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. This was about the first thing I heard about when I got to the office this morning. Old friend, former news director here at 580 WIBW, Nick Gosnell, was actually the one who alerted me to the story because the story about the auto accident was out there, and the name of the person who was involved in the accident was out there, but there had not been the connection between it being Brett Ballard, who was in the accident, and it being that Brett Ballard, the head basketball coach at Washburn. And so Nick had asked me privately, "Hey, is this that Brett Ballard?" And I truthfully didn't know. I mean, it was I didn't know Brett's age right off the top. That's not like knowledge that I had off the top of my head. So I reached out to my contacts and was able to pretty quickly confirm that it was, and then it became public information about a half an hour later. But as I said in the 4 o'clock hour, this has been a really heavy day, and I'm sure for everybody who knows Brett Ballard, whether they know him on a personal or like me, more of a professional level, because there just aren't many nicer people that I've interacted with in my years of covering sports, in my years of doing this and being in sports media. I can't think of too many people that I have enjoyed speaking with, covering, who have been treated me better, who I just think very highly of, than Brett Ballard. So to hear that this is something that he has gone through, that he will be going through, and again, I don't have any indication on the extent of the injuries, the road to recovery that may lie in front of him. I have no indication. I'm not holding anything back from anybody on that front. I really don't know. But it's a sobering thought for sure. And just thinking about Brett today, I'm thinking about his wife, his 3 kids, and just hoping that there will be a quick, a speedy recovery, as speedy as the injuries allow, and that we'll be able to see Brett Ballard back on that Washburn sideline coming up when they start the season at the Hall of Fame Classic in Lakeland, Florida, coming up in early November. Just hope that Brett is out there. Hope he's out there with his guys. I know that the university community will rally around him. I know that the Topeka community, the Jayhawk community, of course, he's a graduate of the University of Kansas, will rally around him, support him and his family. And if you're the sort to pray, his family could use those, and he could use those. And I would ask for those on his behalf, because I think a lot of Brett Ballard, and it hurts me that somebody that I know as well as I know him, and that I think as highly of and respect as much as I respect him, is suffering and is hurting. And so today has been, not to make this about myself, obviously, but I think it's a universal experience. Everybody who's knows Brett and affiliated in any way with Washburn basketball, it's been a very difficult day, and we're just hoping and we're praying for the best for Coach Ballard as he recovers. But that's the latest. There's nothing new to report that really hasn't already been reported, other than that I could tell you he remained hospitalized as of this morning. But that is the latest on Brett Ballard, and we're rooting for you, Coach. Hard to transition from there, but transition we must, Spencer. So let's get us to the next headline.
And it's about basketball, so
okay,
we'll keep it there. Kansas State women's basketball head coach Jeff Mittie has announced another international addition to the 26-27 roster.
This means you're comfortable enough pronouncing her name to read this headline, so give it to me.
Yes, I found it on the K-State Sports website under her bio.
Look at you.
And I did a little research because the research you initially told me to do, not a thing on the YouTubes with her fun fact. As center, Joanna Tabakou.
That looks like
Tabakou.
Yeah, that looks like Tabakou.
From Greece, has signed with the Wildcats. Tabakou, a 6'5" product of Lesvos, played for Greece at the 2025 FIBA U20 Women's Eurobasket Division B. She scored about 6 points a game on a 50% fielding percentage, over 7 rebounds, I can't see because Dan's cursor is there.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Just about a 1 assist and about a half a steal and a half a block in 7 games played. She ranked 11th in the event in rebounds. She tallied a double-double in her final game of the event, carding 10 points and 10 rebounds and added 3 assists against Slovakia. The 26-27 K-State roster will feature players from the United States, Belgium, France, Greece, Slovenia, and Spain.
Like the United Colors of Benetton in that locker room.
So at which it didn't seem like K-State would add much to their women's basketball roster. There's reporting out there from the Manhattan Mercury that there just wasn't nobody was there. There was not an addition. They have an international edition. And, yes, a presence in the paint for them. 6'5" center.
Yeah, 6'5" is some serious size. We'll see what she can give them production-wise, but 6'5" will play. That's the one thing you can't coach. And even with 7 returning letter winners from last year, Kansas State was still a little bit deficient in the post. So, Joanna Tabakou. I found a video of her saying her own name, but she was speaking Greek as she was saying her name, and so she's talking faster than I can process a language that I cannot speak.
I was very surprised that it was already all up there.
It's all Greek to me.
I was very surprised that everything was up there, but they've also, as we heard Ryan Gilbert say, K-State's already updated all their athletic rosters with the new numbers as opposed to freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
So now it's freshman is your first year, sophomore is year 2. There's no red shirt designation anymore. Senior is your 4th year, and then if you're a 5th year, it's just 5th. You're a 5th year. So
I saw that and I was like, oh, maybe there's something, and it was in there, and I was like,
there you go.
Thank you, K-State.
What year is she? Is she going to be
first year?
Oh, she'll be a freshman. Okay,
so that's how it
potential for 5 seasons with the 6'5" Greek on the K-State women's basketball roster. We'll move to football. Watch list season continues as we continue our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Both Kansas and Kansas State placed tight ends on the John Mackey Award preseason watch list. For Kansas State, it's Garrett Oakley, who had a fine season last year. The native of Columbus, Nebraska, enters his 4th season with the Cats. He's a senior. He's not a 5th. He's a senior. 38 grabs last year for 389 yards and 6 touchdowns as he emerged as one of Avery Johnson's top targets. Oakley becomes the 4th Wildcat to be a preseason watch list member for the John Mackey Award, and the first since Dayton Valentine in 2017. Ben Sinnott went from not being on the preseason watch list to being a semifinalist for the award back in 2023. As for Kansas's candidate, it's tight end Carter Moses, who's a transfer from Albany. He's a 5th year. He played 4 years at Albany. Moses is a 5th year tight end. He had 47 career receptions for the Great Danes for 511 yards and 4 touchdowns, most of those coming in his senior campaign last year where he caught 27 balls for 338 yards and 3 scores. So Garrett Oakley, Carter Moses, 2 of the 43 tight ends in Division I named to the John Mackey Award preseason watch list. Spencer, give us another headline, please.
Yes. Hold on.
Give me the one about your favorite team. How about that?
What? Oh, yes. My beloved. Sorry, the computer was not.
It's fine.
Working with me.
Give me one you can get off the dome.
Yes, the Washington Commanders have, according to reports, nothing's official yet, that Stephon Diggs has agreed to a 1-year, up to $12 million contract to join the Washington Commanders. I think base is around 8 to 10 from what I've seen. But yeah, he's not going to join the Chiefs. And I don't really know how realistic that was, unless he took like a very late incentive-laden deal to join the Chiefs. But yes, he will join the Washington Commanders and be a number 2 behind Terry McLaurin. And now my roster projections have gotten blown up at receiver.
I'm sure.
For my own team. So.
They feel like they're in pretty good shape now. I mean, McLaurin and Diggs is as good a 1-2 as you could hope to assemble.
Yeah,
I mean,
it appears
Diggs caught 85 balls for over 1,000 yards last year.
And he
He's
played
still
60% of the snaps.
Yeah.
And it appears Chigakonkwo is going to be a big part of the offense. So if your new tight end is going to be a big part of the offense, and you got Terry McLaurin, Stephon Diggs, and then whoever you roll out as your third receiver, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, or Van Jefferson's on the roster, and Treylon Burks is on the roster.
So I really think that the delay for Diggs, 2 things. One, he's probably looking for more money, maybe more years than this.
Allegedly was looking for a 2-year contract.
So I can understand that, coming off of a deal that was really easy for the Patriots to walk away from after 1 year, looking for a little bit more long-term stability. I understand that. But the other part of it, too, is like he had a court case, and I know he was found not guilty in that court case this offseason, but it's kind of a pattern of behavior with Stephon Diggs that he's not the most trustworthy guy in the world. And the Commanders needed a wide receiver, and really they did not want to do the Brandon Ayuk dance, or at least the dance that Brandon Ayuk was trying to do with them publicly. They wanted to squelch that.
I think it was all on the Ayuk side.
Yes. They just wanted to not have to deal with it anymore, I think. They said, man, let us deal with Stephon Diggs. We would rather deal with Stephon Diggs than have people coming and trying to be creative asking us about whether or not we're going to trade for Brandon Ayuk.
The one thing that I am happy about is typically it takes a bit for veteran guys like this to sign. You don't expect to see it in the first 2 weeks of camp, maybe after the first preseason game. But yeah, they're going to get him in. They got an off day tomorrow, so the next practice that Jaden Daniels steps on the field, barring Stephon Diggs passing his physical, he'll be thrown to him. So I think it's good for what you want him to do.
Real quick to pass this along before we take our break and get to Mitch Holthus. This is breaking news. The NCAA's Division II Executive Board has approved emergency legislation establishing a new age-based eligibility model that will take effect for the 2026-27 year. It's the same 5-to-play-5 model as Division I has. It will now apply to Division II schools, including, of course, Washburn and the rest of the MIAA member institutions. Student-athletes who exhausted their eligibility under the previous rules will not receive an additional year of eligibility, although we know how that turned out for Division I, and if there's anybody feeling litigious and wants an extra year of D2 ball, we'll see if those floodgates get open, and we'll see how that might impact Washburn's roster on the football or the basketball side. But that is breaking news, that the model will be the same in Division II as in Division I. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, joins us next here on 580 Sports Talk. We will be joined shortly by Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, here on 580 Sports Talk for a training camp report. Mitch joins us virtually every day here in the month of August for the latest from St. Joe's. The Chiefs prepare for the 2026 season. This is the third in a series of what will end up being 20 training camp reports. He's with us every day this week, and then the next 3 weeks as well. Mitch will also join us. I know we had somebody ask us. He will be joining us on Thursdays throughout the regular season as well. But today it's a training camp report with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, brought to us by Hy-Vee. The world's best tailgating begins at Hy-Vee, proud official sponsor of the Kansas City Chiefs, and by Azura Credit Union. Visit with the Azura Credit Union Home Loans team. And Mitch, today we talk about Chris Jones, and I know that the sack numbers have not been what he wants and maybe what the team has needed the last couple of seasons, but if you watch the film, you can see he's still a guy offenses have to pay special attention to. He's still plenty capable of blowing up a play, winning a matchup, dominating a matchup. Still a guy that the Chiefs are going to lean on very heavily here in 2026.
And I'm going to take the sack total and throw in something else, which becomes one of the big theses of my research in the offseason and the thesis for tonight. And that is Chris Jones' ability to affect the timing, aerodynamics, or even knock down a pass in the short passing game, which has become prevalent now in the NFL and especially in the AFC West. And most notably so by the Denver Broncos. Ball's coming out fast, less than 2 seconds. Sack numbers are going to fall when the quarterback's not standing back at 5 and 7 steps, patting the ball, looking for a double move. And the ball's coming out so fast, especially in the AFC and especially against our opponents, it seems like, that something else has to be done as a countermeasure. Well, Chris Jones, a couple things here. One is a 7'2" wingspan. The most forgotten plays of Super Bowl 54 in Miami were his 3 passes knocked down in the fourth quarter, which led to 40-second 3-and-outs by the 49ers. Secondly, a thesis point here is the fact that Chris Jones has help now. Peter Woods is a stud. Kairos Tonga is a stud. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is having his best camp of his career to this point. George Karlaftis, there's depth, versatility, and when Gelati rejoins the scene after getting his hamstring figured out, then you've got guys that can move around. All of that, R. Mason Thomas, the rookie from Oklahoma, is really good. Nick Bonito clone, at least to start his career. So I asked Chris, all of this stuff, how much does he feel relieved because he's not going to get all the attention that you alluded to?
How much do you feel like you have reinforcements now? some guys that help you out.
Hey, you know what? It was a really, really good draft. We got a lot of young talent coming in. Peter Woods, we drafted first round, Mason, and got a lot of new faces in the room. So I'm super excited to work with these guys. They got a lot of potential.
And how much can that help you where you're not getting double teamed or triple teamed all the time?
I think that'll be a great help. You know, get them accustomed to the system, get them to know the playbook, and I think they're going to be a great addition for this defense.
They've got to knock down passes or change the aerodynamic of throws. That to me is as much of an emphasis as sacks, because they've got to get off the field. And Chris Jones, because of his wingspan, the other thing to think about here, guys, is Chris Jones moving around. He could play outside more, outside the shoulder of a tackle where they can't double team and it'll chip him, especially if you've got a Peter Wood screaming up the field in a one gap looking like Aaron Donald, or Kairos Tonga, who can do the same and just push the pocket. So all that, we talk about the running back room being transformed, and it is more than probably any room in the league. But close behind them is the defensive line. It does not look the same.
Not only does it not look the same, Mitch, it feels like there's a real diversity of skill set on the line in a way that might be unique to this group when you think about, obviously, guys like Chris Jones and George Karlaftis are established NFL talents, and they do the things that they do exceptionally well. But what Kairos Tonga brings and what the rookies, Peter Woods and R. Mason Thomas bring, and what Ashton Gelati can bring, it's really different. And it feels like this is a group that not only offers the potential to be deeper than last year, maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit fresher legs than last year, but also could complement each other really well and give Steve Spagnuolo a lot of different options as far as who he wants to throw out there for certain situations.
And the fronts and schemes that he can show, which Spags loves to do that. He likes to bring the whole toolkit. But you could see 3, 4, even 5-man bear fronts, especially with these teams that want to run the ball in our division. They want to control the game. And I think the Raiders are trying to do that even more, whomever's the quarterback. And so that defensive line can change all of that because they're run defenders. They are not necessarily scheme specific to one thing. And so that's the exciting part, is the versatility and the talent of this group. It's fun to watch them every day. Peter Woods is doing something every day. And I know that people are going to laugh at me, call him, but he's the same size, kind of looks the same as Aaron Donald, and he's got a lot of one-gap ability to disrupt the play.
Mitch Holtz, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, is with us here on 580 Sports Talk. This is a training camp report brought to us by Azura Credit Union and Hy-Vee. You mentioned Peter Woods, and I'm sure we'll delve into him in a future training camp report, but to have a guy who comes in, he's a first-round pick, tremendous athleticism, and a guy who's been apparently very impressive to the onlookers at training camp so far, and he's impressed his teammates as well. How much does it energize a guy like Chris Jones to see somebody come in like Peter Woods and think, this is a guy with the potential to maybe one day do the kind of things that I've done in this league? Because I know that Jones has embraced that leadership role, or as he referred to it, the unk role on the defense when he was talking back at minicamp. But how much does he get energized by the fact that there's a real protege potential here with Peter Woods?
And he could sit there and tell the guys across from him, if you're going to double team me, you're going to have a problem. So go ahead and double team me, but you're going to have to pick some poison here. But Chris he's grown up a lot. If Kelsey's grown up a lot on the offensive side since 2014, Chris has done the same since 2016. And then the fact that he is willing to take on the responsibility of being, kind of a discipler is a good thing. But he sees the talent, and he knows that's going to help him, even maybe give him one more year in his career because of a guy like Woods, and then an R. Mason Thomas as well. But the thing about these rookies, and I'm going to feature them, as you mentioned, later, but they're willing to work and they're willing to learn. And that's not necessarily the case in the NIL world. We have that in 2022 with that great group of guys that were just, 2 Super Bowl championships and phenomenal in the playoffs. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, but man, all of the magnetized, these arrows are pointing toward the same kind of group of guys because they're willing to learn and willing to work.
How important do you think it was to get young on that group with respect to what the veteran presences on last year's team brought to the team over the years? Guys who have multiple Super Bowl rings, like Mike Pennell and Derek Nottie, and guys like Charles Menahu and Mike Dana, who were just solid organizational soldiers over the last handful of years and had some really good moments with the team. How much, though, do you think it benefits the line as a whole to maybe get some younger, fresher legs to complement, again, a veteran guy like Jones in that way?
I think it becomes a prototype of really the best way to build every room on an NFL team. Let's look at this defensive line group, because you've got Jones, the 7-time Pro Bowler, probably going to be a Hall of Famer. But then you've got these new pups. But then you've got George Karlaftis, who now is in his 5th year. So he's kind of this mid-range guy, somewhere between the rookies and Chris Jones. You've got Felix Enrique-Uzama, who has to prove something this year, and he's starting to do that. Then you've got Ashton Gelati, who's going into a 2nd year. You catch my drift here. This is like building a Lego castle, but you've got to use different Lego blocks. You can't have one that all look the same. And I've often said in the NFL, if you get too old, you get crushed. If you get too young, you get crushed. And maybe we got a little long in the tooth on the defensive front. But also when you're drafting last, waiver claim last, you can't do everything everywhere all the time. That's what Brett Veach has said over and over again. So this year, the defensive front got some attention, particularly with Woods and getting Tonga in free agency and R. Mason Thomas through the draft. But you've already had some pieces here, but they're staggered through. You can actually look at this. You've got seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, and it's a nice blend on that defensive line room.
A couple more questions from Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk with a training camp report presented by Hy-Vee and Zurich Credit Union. You mentioned Tonga. How much of a factor do you think he can be, aside from being that space eater? The Chiefs have liked having the guy who can occupy a double team against the run and hold up. And Nottie's been that. Pennell's been that. Tonga's got the size to be that. But would it be too reductive to say that Tonga's just there for a space-eating role? Are there some other things that he can give and some other ways that he can, and again, we return to this word, complement Chris Jones's ability?
Denver's got a decent offensive line. Go watch what he did to them in the AFC Championship game. There were times he ate them alive. There's more of explosiveness to Khyiris Tonga, and it's not to cast aspersions on Derek Nottie, because I saw it early in Derek's career. And D-Nod, again, Super Bowl rings, so I'm not going to sit here and throw rocks at him. And same with Pennell. But Tonga's not only big, he's got some explosiveness to him, too. He doesn't have the first step quickness of a Peter Woods, but he's not far behind. It's not like he's just a 2-gap plugger and go just, clog the drain. He's got the ability to either bull rush 2 guys back into the pocket, or he's got some ability to 1-gap it. So again, he's a very nice complement to these other guys that we've been talking about. Getting Khyiris Tonga was a bigger deal than I think the Chiefs Kingdom realizes.
Last thing for you, Mitch. We mentioned at the beginning that the sack numbers for Chris Jones the last couple of years have not been the standard that has seen him be a first-team All-Pro at other points in his career, though he was a second-team All-Pro as recently as last year. So there's obviously still effectiveness. There's ways that you can be a great player, productive player, without running up 15.5 sacks. At the same time, the Chiefs need sacks. And the CEO of Sack Nation is a guy who's going to be leaned on to generate those. So that's the big question for Chris, I think, entering this year is, how do you turn some of those wins in pass rush, because he can still beat guys one-on-one and even one-on-two. How does he convert that into more of those sacks? Because it feels like the last couple of years he's been a fingertip away from maybe 3 or 4 more a year.
Yeah, and again, he's had a lot of double and triple teams, but I'm going to give you a baseball analogy. I would almost tell him to because we see now in MLB guys just trying to alter their swings to try to hit it out of the park, and they hit 215 with 18 homers. Quit trying to hit homers. Just quit thinking about sacks. And you know what? The sacks will come. but also think about the passes deflected. It's the most devastating kind of play in defense that nobody really talks about and fans don't appreciate. When you watch video of the games that you do or getting ready to do, freeze it on a pass defense and look at what would have happened. So in a sack, you lose yardage in the down. Got it. But in a pass deflection, you lose the down, but you also have the, lack of a better term, the opportunity cost for the offense of the yards they would have gained. And many times it's 15 to 25 yards. So those plays over the course of a game and over the course of a season to affect a 3rd down and 6 throw and get a team off the field, which the Chiefs did not do last year, or to prevent a big play that's wide open, that's schemed open, that the ball never gets to the receiver, many times are as effective and sometimes more effective than even a sack is. That's what I've studied this offseason, and it's fascinating. And here's your stat of the night. The Chiefs led the league in passes deflected in 2022 and 2023. And how did those seasons turn out? Last 2 years, the numbers have dropped way off. And so if Chris, with that 7'2" wingspan, no matter where he plays, understands technique-wise and go into the scheme, I'm going to try to get a sack. Here's what my responsibility in the scheme. But if I deflect or affect the physics of a quick throw from Bo Nix, that's going to be the same effect as a sack. He may not get paid on it with his contract set up, but he may win a division again. So you catch my drift. It's one of the things to try to follow and chart and understand, because it can be just a huge play for a defense, and it hasn't been done for the Chiefs as much as they did it the 2 years when they went on a run and really kind of lived by the defense to get it done.
Mitch Holthus joins us for training camp reports here on 580 Sports Talk, brought to us by Hy-Vee, the world's best tailgating begins at Hy-Vee, proud official sponsor of the Kansas City Chiefs, and by Azure Credit Union, where you can visit with the Azure Credit Union home loans team. Mitch, we'll look forward to tomorrow. Obviously, we checked off the Canton guys, the inner circle Canton guys so far these first 3 days. So who will we be hearing from tomorrow?
The reason that Chiefs fans ought to be most excited.
Most excited.
You're getting more than you thought you were going to get. That's where we're going tomorrow.
I'm gonna lose sleep thinking about who this could possibly refer to. Mitch. Hey, thanks for the time. We'll talk to you tomorrow, same time.
All right, thanks.
That is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Intrigue.
I think
idea.
I know who it is.
I have no idea, but I'm excited to find out. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, little Royals baseball. It was a fun game last night. Haven't been many of those, but last night's qualified. We'll get you set for tonight's action as well. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. 2:45 and 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Mitch Holtzes, voice of the Chiefs, for joining us for a training camp report. Next one's coming at you same time tomorrow, 5:25, here on 580 Sports Talk. Well, it was that rarest of rarities last night at Kauffman Stadium, and I don't just mean a Royals win, but like a fun Royals game. Royals led early, added in the middle of the game, piled on late, and won comfortably, 8-2 the final last night. And I think we can now say that we are removing Joe Ryan from the list of Royal killers. He had a good run, but they've beaten his brains in 3 straight times.
Yeah.
So, Joe Ryan, you are no longer a certified Royal killer.
Are you glad that you didn't, kill that thing about him not being a Royal killer anymore because of what you said last night?
Yeah, I am.
You didn't jinx it.
I didn't jinx it. I've been a jinx a lot this year, but I did not jinx that one. Joe Ryan gave up 5 runs, 4 earned on 7 hits in his 5 1/3 inning. He's really been terrible since the All-Star break. Speaking as a Joe Ryan fantasy owner, I'm not happy. He got out-pitched by the Dauber. Randy Dobnak, 5 innings, a 1-run ball. That's now 1 earned run. Shame on him. He gave up an earned run. 1 earned run in his last 17 innings of work, and just 2 earned runs over his 4 starts, which comprise, I'm doing back of the napkin math here, 17, 21 1/3 innings. He's allowed just 2 runs. He's carrying a 1.16 earned run average in his first 31 innings.
I don't
as
know,
a
but
Royal.
J.J. Piccolo thinking that he might be in the starting rotation next year after these few
He
starts.
might start opening day. Damn. He's been great. Like I said earlier, you guys know I like the numbers. You guys know I like to dig in, and I like to find out, all right, is what we're seeing real? Is what we're seeing is consistent? Is what we're seeing something that we can expect to see over the long haul? Or is this just a hot streak? Is this just a little bit of random variance? Is this just noise? Like, for example, remember that 1 month, this might have been before your time, Spencer, but there was a month where Nick Pratto hit 330 or something more than that. Nick Pratto was hitting lights out for a month. And I said, all right, his batted average on balls in play in this stretch is 450. This probably isn't real. He's still striking out too much. I'm not ready to buy Nick Pratto just yet. I saw a clip of Nick Pratto the other day. I was watching AAA highlights. He's playing for the El Paso Chihuahuas, I believe they are.
Who are they affiliated with?
San Diego.
Oh.
He's in the San Diego chain these days, playing for the Chihuahuas. It was 2023, so it was before your time. But yeah, he had 1 really good month, and currently you can find him with the El Paso Chihuahuas, where he's hitting 225. So the Nick Pratto thing was not real. The Randy Dobnak thing is not real. The Randy Dobnak.
Yes, I actually just pulled up. I had not pulled up his baseball reference page.
Yeah, Randy Dobnak has struck out 15 guys in 31 innings.
He's also only pitched in the majors. He's only pitched 45 innings since 2021.
Yes, this is the most big league action he's seen since 2021. He's also 2-0. It's his first win since 2021. He'd barely been in the bigs. Just 1 appearance in 2025, 5 in 2024. 3 years before that had not appeared in the major leagues at all. You don't get very far striking out 4.5 guys per 9 innings. You just don't. But for a short while, if you fill up the strike zone, you compete your butt off, you get enough ground balls, there's some good things that can happen for you. And right now, good things are happening for Randy Dobnak, and he is getting a lot of ground balls. That has been his stock in trade. Over the course of the 6 years that he has played Major League Baseball, so for the time span of 2019 through 2026, the league average ground ball rate is 42% for pitchers. Pitchers on average give up 42% ground balls. Randy Dobnak gives up 56% ground balls. He is out there killing some worms. And if you kill enough worms and you throw enough strikes, you could do this for a little while. And so he's 31. obviously, he's been just a fringe guy his whole career. Royals are getting some really good work out of him right now. At this point, do I think he's going to be in the rotation to start 2027? Why not? Like, the Royals have him. He's not going to be a free agent. I don't believe he's I don't even think he's gotten to the point where he's arbitration eligible. So why not? Why not Randy Dobnak in the rotation next year? But like, is this a real breakout, or is this just a back end fringe fifth starter having a really fun month? And it's the latter. But you know what? To even say that, I feel bad, because a fun month is a fun month. And we haven't having a lot of fun watching the Kansas City Royals in 2026. So let's enjoy the dauber and that beard. I showed my wife a picture of Randy Dobnak. It was after his I think it was after the start. He went out there against Detroit through the 5 shutout innings. And I showed my wife a picture. I said, does this man look like a big league starting pitcher to you? And her response was, I believe something along the lines of, he looks homeless. It's a lot of beard. He got a lot of beard going. But you know what? Fear the beard is what I say. The dauber's on fire.
So his wins above replacement this year,
1.6.
Yes, and that's now his career wins above replacement.
Yes. He had been precisely replacement level, and now he is the 5th most valuable member of the Kansas City Royals this season.
It's kind of laughable when you think about it.
The 5th most valuable member of the team. He has been more valuable, wins above replacement, says, than Carter Jensen, than Isaac Collins, than Michael Massey, than Vinny Pasquantino. Like, he's been twice as valuable as Vinny, which is wild. It's fun. Like, by all accounts, seems like a great human. Somebody who's been through a lot to persevere in his professional baseball career. Drove Uber for a while to keep the dream alive. Like,
he also has 2 full names. I don't know if you knew this.
This is a guy to root for.
He's
got 2 middle names.
His name is Randy Travis William Dobnak. He could be Randy Travis. He could be William Dobnak. He could be Travis William. He could be.
Was he named after Randy Travis? Do you think they did that on purpose?
Probably.
He's from South Park, Pennsylvania. I don't know enough about the area to know if that's real, like hill jack, country music.
I don't know anything about South Park.
Yeah. I got nothing for you there. So to answer the question from the text line for the 785, is this like Cole Reagan's early on in his Royals career? No. Firmly, no, it is not. I wish it were. It's not. But that doesn't mean
this is
that
like
it's
fantasy
not,
land.
Yeah, this is fun. This is enjoyable. I'm looking forward to his next start. Keep killing those worms, man. Keep killing those worms.
Just know that when something goes south, like this was probably gonna happen anyway.
Yeah, just don't be surprised.
Yeah,
don't be surprised when he goes out and when the ground ball's flying holes and you don't miss enough bats.
He gets hammered, gives up 5 runs in 5 innings.
The ERA skyrockets. Yeah. But for now, enjoy the ride with the dauber, because I sure am. It's Noah Cameron and Dean Kramer, the starters tonight. Kramer making his Twins debut. Carter Jensen will lead off in DH, followed by Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Jack Caglione at first, Salvador Perez behind the plate, Michael Massey at second, Isaac Collins in left, Nick Lofton at third, John Rave in right, and Kyle Isbell in center. For the Twins tonight against the lefty Cameron, it's I almost called him Austin Martin. It is Austin Martin. I almost called him Aston Martin. Austin Martin in right field. Ryan Jeffers doing the catching. Josh Bell is the DH. Cody Clemens is in center field tonight hitting cleanup. Royce Lewis at second. Victor Caratini at first. Brooks Lee's the third baseman. Trevor Larnach at left field. And Ryan Kreidler is the shortstop. They'll take a timeout. Come back. Wrap up 580 Sports Talk after this. Final word time on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, wrap this puppy up.
Yeah, final word for me. It's a question, Dan. Would you like to be an offensive coordinator of the game for the Akron Zips?
Yes, I would, very much.
Because you can. You just have to buy season tickets for the Akron Zips football team, and you get a chance to win that prize of drawing up the first script for the opening drive for the Akron Zips season home opener against, I believe it is Robert Morris. You could do so if you buy season tickets. This is a very interesting promotion.
Man, imagine being on that defense. I'm not going to let some
Joe
dude
Schmo.
scheme up a touchdown drive on us.
This is crazy. They must have not reached the ticket sales in which they thought they would. So somebody in the creative promotions department decided to come up with this because this has never been done before. So if you want to do it, you can just try to be a season ticket holder. You have to get in, I believe, August 8th and the drawing August 19th.
My final word is a very simple one. Get well soon, Coach Ballard. We're all thinking about you. That's it for us today. Royals baseball's next. Back tomorrow from 3 to 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. Good night.